Welcome to day 11 of the 12 days of Christmas. Let's get our seams just right. First up, the most important tool to every quilter, seam rippers. Our first ripper is the Laurie's Country Cottage favorite seam ripper, the Clover Seam Ripper. Why do we like it so much? Well, it's got a nice big handle so it's easy to hold on to, and it's super sharp. So that's the Clover Seam Ripper. Then we have the Seam Fix Seam Ripper in 3 colors, blue, purple, and pink. What's so special about the Seam Fix cutter? It has a cap, so you can keep the sharp point covered. But even better than that, when you use the cap to rub your already picked seams, it pulls those little threads right out. It's our second favorite seam ripper. You need both. Up next, diagonal seam tape. Did you miss this? This will make your piecing so much easier. Any diagonal piecing you need to do. Flying geese or half square triangles. You apply the tape, it's just like a roll of tape, to your sewing machine bed lined up with your needle. There are 3 lines on the diagonal seam tape, a center line and then a black line, 1/4 inch to the left and to the right of your center line. So if you're doing half square triangles where you sew down the middle, you align your point with the center line and with your needle, and you can just chain stitch away. If you prefer the method where you draw a line down the middle and then sew on either side, you don't need to draw the line anymore. You'll use the black lines on the tape to sew on either side of center, saving you that nasty chore of drawing lines. It also works great for flying geese. That's the diagonal seam tape. It comes on a roll and is removable and repositionable. What's up next? Sewing edge. The sewing edge, again, is a repositional vinyl strip that you apply to the bed of your sewing machine to help you keep your seam allowance straight. It's great for practicing your 1/4 inch, but also if you're sewing crafts or garments or bags, sometimes you need a different seam allowance, 3/8 or even 1/2 inch. So you can reposition your sewing edge for those different seam allowances. Here's a tool you may not have seen. We have the Gypsy Clapper in 2 sizes, large and small. Gypsy Clappers have nice grooves in the side to help you hold on to them, and they are used with the heat of your iron to flatten your seams. They're also great for hemming jeans. When you have a really thick seam, you can just give it a smack with the clapper and it flattens out. I use it for bag making, again, to flatten those bulky seams. Then we have clappers in a square shape, 6 inch and 9 inch. Also great for seams, but also great for larger areas. Those are the clappers. Then we have June Taylor's Magic Pressing Wand. June Taylor, as you know, is famous for Quilt As You Go. And when you use their foundations, Quilt As You Go, they don't want you to press with your iron because it could warp or shift the foundation of your Quilt As You Go project. So we tend to finger press. With the June Taylor's Magic Seam Wand, you can use the flat or the beveled edge of the seam wand to press your seam open. And you can even heat the slanted edge of your Magic Seam Wand and then draw it across your seam. Now we have the Easy Rip and Grip. It's a tweezer and a seam ripper in one. It comes in a handy case to hold it, and it folds up kind of like a fingernail clipper. They've positioned the seam ripper so that you can rip your seam, flip the tool over, and pull your threads out with the seam ripper. With the tweezers, sorry. That's from Femore, our favorite scissor and tool company. Up next, if you don't have it, you really should. The Seams Flat Pressing Bar. This is a curved wooden bar covered with a woolly felted mat. You know why we love those for quilting. This tool is excellent for pressing seams open and for flattening bulky seams. That's the Seams Flat Pressing Bar. Up next, necessities, needles. We've chosen our top 4 selling needles by Schmetz for you. Microtex 10s, Microtex 12s, top stitching 14s, and the quilting multi. Microtex needles have a long, very sharp point. They were developed to work with batiks that have a tighter weave. I use Microtex needles for most of my stitching. Top stitch needles have a nice long eye that allows the thread to move easily through layers. Quilting needles have an extra long point, and we've given you different sizes so that you can use the right needle for the right project. What would the 12 days of Christmas be without Lisa's favorite tool, the purple thang? The purple thang is so useful. I have one by my iron and one by my sewing machine. It has a curved end that you use as a stiletto. It has a slot that you can use for pulling drawstring and elastic through casings. And the square end really isn't square. It's a rectangle, a 1/4 inch and a scant 1/4 inch. It's made of plastic, and it helps to feed things underneath the presser foot of your sewing machine. That's the purple thang. And the last thing on our list for this day of the 12 days of Christmas is the Caterpillar Clamp Light. This is brand new from Caterpillar. It is a clamp that you put on your ruler to help you cut, and now they have a rechargeable light to help you see even better. Well, that's day 11. Let's get our seams just right for the 12 days of Christmas.